Canola School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Alberta Canola Producers Commission, Sask Canola, and Manitoba Canola Growers.
I'm Lindsay Smith with RealAgriculture.com. I'm in sunny Portage-la Prairie with Angela Brackenreed of the Canola Council of Canada. What on earth are we standing in front of?
Well, this is our Ultimate Canola Challenge site. This is the second year we've done it here at CMCDC in Portage. A little bit different this year, a bit of a twist to how we're doing things.
Okay, so last year there was sort of a head-to-head of different, some teams that were making decisions on the crop. This year though, you've got three sort of packages from low input to high input. So lay it out for us.
Okay, yeah, so this year we're really putting more of a focus on economics, cost of production, and return on investment. So our three treatments start at a low input treatment, which we're calling no frills. So really the goal for that one is to hit like an average area yield. We're not trying to bust any bins with it, just, you know, try and do average. So we have the mid input treatment, which we're calling input optimization. And this treatment is looking for, you know, the higher end of yield, above average yield, but we're being fairly conscientious about the level of inputs that we put on this treatment. And then we have a high input treatment that we're calling Take It to the Max. It's going for a fairly aggressive yield, achievable but not common for this area. And really we're just throwing everything at that treatment.
Okay, so we're in Portage. The growing season, of course, started out a little rough, like for most farmers in areas of Manitoba this year. This went on to alfalfa. And
yeah,
that wasn't really part of the plan.
No.
So how did you handle that this week?
No, and I was really quite nervous about it. It's definitely not common here in Manitoba and wouldn't be something that I would typically recommend to producers. As it turned out though, being as wet as we were, I think it actually it's maybe been advantageous for the site. So like you said, we really didn't have a spot for this trial and we just had to try and find some space for it. So it ended up being on alfalfa ground. It was only in production for 1 year. So that definitely made it a little bit easier to manage, I think. But with that said, we didn't take it out in the fall because we didn't know that we were going to be putting the trial here. So we had the challenge of trying to kill alfalfa in the spring. So yeah, like we said, this is on alfalfa, definitely not ideal, and we were all a little bit nervous of how we were going to control that alfalfa, being that we didn't do it in the fall. So it was interesting to see, like I said, the entire treatment got 1.5 liters of Roundup, and then it was all cultivated. And then each treatment was obviously sprayed with Liberty. There was tons of regrowth there. There's tons of alfalfa that was there when the crop was coming up, and it certainly was competing with it quite heavily. So they were all sprayed with Liberty, and I was really quite interested to see how good of control we were going to get. Knocked it back pretty good. I was actually quite impressed. Obviously, I wasn't expecting a complete kill. I definitely expected regrowth to happen. And not in all cases did it actually regrow. We got complete control in some cases, but I would say certainly the majority of it has started to regrow. But I think the Liberty knocked it back enough for the canola to cabbage out and really outcompete that alfalfa. So we were quite happy with the control that we got at the end of the day. So the herbicides were varied from the low to high treatment. We had 2 shots of Liberty in the high treatment and just 1 in the mid and also 1 in the low as well. The low treatment did not have any clethodim with it. The mid had the 60 acre per case rate, and then the high had 1 shot of, the mid had 85 acre case rate and the high had 60 acre per case rate, just one shot.
So now you kept the variety the same across the trial. It's not really about how the genetics perform.
Yeah.
You kept the seeding rate the same across the trial. But what's interesting is how much variation we can see. And I mean, I kind of wish, well, I always wish I'm taller, but I kind of wish we could get out really high because, and I'll see if I can capture some with the camera, but it's incredibly variable across the spot. And I've seen this spot before. It doesn't seem that variable.
Yeah, you're totally right, Lindsay. We were just saying, I farm in the west, and this is like super flat to me, and as consistent of a field as I've ever seen. But it's quite evident, the variability, and it really reinforces why it's important to randomly replicate things, because you can see that, you know, the front of this trial here is looking not quite as good as when you go out to the middle, but it's probably more to do with the geography of this this little 10-acre block here than anything else.
Right, okay, so now walk us through the nutrient rates are different between the trials.
Yes.
And maybe catch us up on what happened up to now. Of course, we're moving out of flower. There's going to be a few things obviously yet to scout for, but nutrient-wise and maybe fungicide-wise, what happened between plots?
Sure. So just to reiterate, all of the pre-seed operations were kept standard, just so we weren't having anything confounding as far as you know, alfalfa stand that was there, and all of the seeding implements are kept standard as well, so that the focus is on our pesticides and fertility. So for fertility, we broadcast and incorporated everything on the same day. So the low input treatment, or our no frills treatment, got 90 pounds of N, and that was it. The mid input treatment got 120 pounds of N and 15 of sulfur. And then the high input treatment got 150 pounds of N and 25 of S. Then when we went to seed, we didn't put any phos with the low input treatment. For the mid input treatment, we put 15 pounds of phos. And for the high input treatment, we put 25 pounds of phos with the seed.
Now, what about fungicides? Were these treated any differently?
Yeah, so for fungicides, we didn't put headline on. Actually, we intended to put headline on with the high input treatment, just didn't happen. But we did vary things for sclerotinia fungicide. The low input treatment did not get any fungicide at all. Our mid-input treatment got the standard 126 mLs per acre of Proline at about 30% bloom. And then our high input treatment got 2 shots of fungicide, both 126 mLs per acre. One was at, I'd say, you know, a little on the early side, but probably close to 20%, that ideal timing. And then the second shot was a little on the late side, around that 50% or just before.
Now, what was flea beetle pressure like this spring?
You know, I was shocked. Flea beetle pressure was not that bad here, and it was quite bad everywhere else. So I don't really know why, but we definitely monitored it quite closely, and yeah, it really wasn't that bad. I mean, there was chewing happening, but nothing that warranted a spray.
Okay, and so how will you handle harvest of these plots?
So the harvest, same as the pre-seed operations, we're going to try and keep the harvest as standard as possible. Like you were saying though, just because of those things that were varied a little bit, the maturity could certainly be different, even though the seeding date was the same. So we're going to target a seed color change and keep that the same for all of them. But if that means swathing on different days, then we will do that.
And one last thing, there are time-lapse cameras on these plots. What are you seeing or learning that's sort of interesting to have time-lapse on these plots?
Yeah, you know, the time-lapse are really cool just to see how growth is progressing. They're not super high resolution, so you can't really see any up-close deformities or anything strange going on individual plants, but you can see things like the number of days from first flower until 10% bloom or 20% bloom. So that's kind of cool, because sometimes these things just sneak up on you, and then it's really difficult to remember, like, well, when did that happen, or how long ago was that? So those reference points have been really good for me, because they are all tagged with the time, the treatment, and the dates. So
okay, so these will be taking to yield. And where can farmers find the information when this is all done?
Yeah, so if you follow me on Twitter, at BrackenreedCCC, I tweet about it quite often and just post little pictures from it, but I also have a blog that I try and update on a weekly basis, and we'll have all that information there. I'll be talking about it lots through winter meetings, so if you just kind of keep tabs with me, then you'll certainly see that information. And I don't know if I said, but the winner of this whole trial will be based on whichever treatment has the highest return on investment.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Angela.
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay.